Good afternoon. We are live. We are live. We're live. It's Sunday. Is that lighting okay? I need to get this room sorted out. In the next couple of days, we are live, and there are people on the chat already. 27 people online. Surely more than that. Yeah, there's only 27. That's good, though. That's good. Who is all online? We'll talk about Brendan Rodgers. Just give me a thing in the comments. Just tell me that the sound is okay. Just double check that. It should be. Everything's working fine. Evening, says Dan. Ewan boy, hail, hail. Monty says, evening, Baz. Get some more evenings in. Just check the sound. It's okay, perfect, Richard. Cheers for that. Right, there are 30 people online. Get sharing this on social medias to get people on, and make sure they come onto YouTube and not on other social media platforms. Evening says, Jimmy. I'll go back to the beginning and see some of the comments because there's a lot of comments in already. Few cans. Yes, I do. Tonight's one is the classic. Wow. There we go. Brendan Rodgers and a bag of cans. We're in. We are in, as they say. Right, let's go back to some of the comments. Rod, after James, a few cans. Rod, hail from Brecon. Something today says, I worry about Brendan. Between the sticks next week. Ewan Boy says, hail troops. Ewan Boy, it's Peter in the noon. He's got the hot tub waiting on 40 degrees. It was 30 degrees here today, but after the chat, I'm totally on Brendan bus. We are so lucky to have him as manager. Yes, slow start, but we're getting better. We're going to get into the chat about Brendan. Right? Craig Gilmer says, hail, boys. Tam Mac, hail. Ewan Boy. .com says, day for the USA. Bring back Jota. Bring back Jota. We'll talk about that a bit later. Right, I'm going to jump through the comments and get to the Jota back. And then Evan Sean says, amazing 10-man performance against Motherwell. We should have hammered that lot today. Today it was yesterday. Anyway, right. Hail from rainy Balak. There's no clouds in the sky here. But anyway, let's not talk about the weather. We're here to talk about Brendan Rodgers. We're here to talk about a few things, actually, because there was a few things that caught my eye today. We could never afford Jota's snotter, says Slaven. Hail from Brendan Balak. Jota's not coming back, says Tamak. Yes, I know he's probably not coming back. And I think it was a bit of a cheeky headline for one of these online media groups, and this is one of the problems that I have, and especially with people that call themselves media. Look, YouTube isn't professional media. YouTube is YouTube. Anybody that says that YouTube and they're a professional platform, they need to go and get a grip. If you look at Mr. Beast, who does YouTube, and he does around about 120, 300 million views every video, he still uses 1080, and he never will ever go a full professional setup when he does his videos. Right, dog, get out. Wait a minute. Right, no, out. Kicking the dog out tonight. Brendan, well done for yesterday, says Helen. Right, Mark, it's like you said, Baz, paid to see it. I think he was personally paid to see it. I know that I have spoken to someone in the past with regards to trying to get players to come on to this platform, and you know, whether you like it or not, past players all, and this goes down to even when they come to Celtic events. When I run the Joseph Rafferty Celtic Supporters Club, trying to get any player to come to your event, it'll come down to one thing, and it was money. And it's the exact same as trying to get them to come onto YouTube. It's how much you're going to pay me, and it's like, come on, mate, YouTube doesn't pay you that much unless you're the Man United channel, United stand, that's making about 40, 50 grand a month. It's just not worth it. Anyway, let's move on for that. I see. Yes, that's one of the things I was wanting to talk about. The Feyenoord game. Feyenoord played away to Ajax. Now, let's put this into perspective on the fact that we only got beat 2-0 from them at Feyenoord. They went to Ajax, and Ajax is a hard enough stadium to go to, but the Ajax fans are a bit of an entitled bunch, and there's no lost love between Celtic and Ajax fans. Diane Mark Goldbridge, I could talk about Mark Goldbridge all day long. The amount of money that he makes through YouTube is unbelievable. I mean, he can get 300,000 views in an hour. It takes me a whole month to get 300,000 views. So yeah, right. Yeah, Ajax and Feyenoord. The Feyenoord were away Ajax, and they were winning 3-0. And if you've not went on to Twitter or anything like that, you're not seen it because Ajax basically got the game abandoned. They started throwing flares onto the pitch. They went around the front of the stadium, started smashing up the stadium, trying to get into the ground. What a bunch of entitled. I mean, people going about the Green Brigade and the Green Brigade being bad. You know, the fact that Ajax pretty much demolished them on their Ajax on their own ground. When you look at the fact that we went down to 9 men, we went down to 9 men, and we still managed to just keep it together. You know, we never lost a lot. We never lost it. We lost a lot of territory, but we played well enough. If we can get into Celtic Park and keep everyone on the pitch, you know, we've got a game and a half for ourselves. Right, let's get on to some more Celtic news before we talk about Peter Lawwell. Obviously, that one with the Feyenoord one. I mean, I'm looking at some of the pictures and the videos, and it's just they are completely nuts. Completely nuts. Please Scotland more about Celtic fans and the ultra scene in Scotland. It is nothing, absolutely nothing compared to Europe. Right, Celtic today sit on. We've played 6, we've won 2, we've drawn 1, we've lost no games this season so far. Goals for have been 7, goals against 2. That's at home. Away, we've won 3. Away from home, we've won 3 games away from home. We haven't lost a away game this season. Goals for has been 7. Goals against has been 1. The goal difference is 11, and we're on 16 points. The Safeco won today, 1-0. A really bad performance going by all their media. They're all. I went on and I listened to the Greeting Face deal, and I'll let you listen to it actually because. It's today. What is your take on that game?
Horrible performance. Enjoy the game. I don't think the players enjoyed the game either. I don't think anyone watching it that was supporting us enjoyed the game. We started poorly. Lots of sloppy individual errors.
The fact that they're playing really rubbish and still winning isn't really a concern to me. The only thing that I hope is that they get beat during the week in the cup game. But the fact that they have sneaked up into 3rd place, I was kind of hoping that Motherwell would take something off them to keep Rangers in 4th. But we're still top of the table, looking down on the Rangers in 16 points. I can't see us dropping any points to anyone in the league anytime soon. I wouldn't be perfectly honest and say that. I'm a bit. Is it a bit cheeky saying that? Is it a bit cheeky saying that I can't see Celtic dropping points? And I'm going to say this due to one thing, due to the way that Brendan Rodgers has us playing. First word, horrible, yeah, Diane. Horrible. I think the way that Brendan Rodgers has now got us playing, and out of 16 games, the Champions League midweek, 4 teams won away from home. But there you go. Actually, I got sent something. I'll do it on another video. I'll do it on another live because this I got sent a stats for the Champions League, and over the entire history of the Champions League, Celtic have actually done not too bad when you look at it. The Champions League is always something that goes to the bigger teams are always get to the later stages, but let's talk about the Champions League another time. Get back to the main thing and talk about Celtic and Brendan Rodgers. Right. Tell me what you think about Brendan Rodgers now, because obviously we've seen the video yesterday where he goes over and helps a little fan out that ran onto the pitch. There was a few funny comments about people saying that the young boy shouldn't be on the pitch. And I've been to games where, yeah, that was absolutely nothing. I don't see us beating domestically for a season, a few draws at most. I think the Boo Boys are back full time in the Zombies game. You're kidding on. Even though they won. Anyway, we've had enough about the MGPD boy. Um, Joseph says he'll Baz, a good one. Meant to get past him better. Yep. Stands with the ball. Interception, scores, and opposition attacking us. I think when you look at the way that the game went yesterday, I think that we controlled it quite well. I was worried about Rio Hatate at the start of the game because his very first pass went just all over the place. But Brendan seems to. The one thing that Brendan's good at, and we did say when he first came back, one thing that Brendan's good at is the fact that he can change his tactics almost instantly. Change his tactics instantly. He did that with Callum McGregor. You seen him shout over Callum, and you tell him to tell Callum to go to three in the midfield. And although it was going to make us a bit more stretched in the midfield, you know, yeah, just a wee Gallus Wayne taking it to the authorities yesterday. Yeah, smell the glove. That's actually it. Richard says, I think he's pissed off the transfer window. I think it is also. Now, I've asked someone that knows him personally, well, but he's not going to give me any information. He's not going to. Brendan's not going to let anything out the club. Unlike the last time, if you remember the first time that Brendan was here, there was the team was leaked every single week on the Friday night. The team that was playing that weekend was leaked every single night, and people were saying it was Brendan. It wasn't Brendan at the time, but Brendan doesn't want anything leaked out the club that's going on just now. So hence the reason that there's hardly any information coming out for the usual sources that I can get my hands on for the main stand. But I think Brendan, for the way that he's been speaking and the way that he was talking about the younger players not being experienced enough, I think when you read the lines and you go back to the week before the transfer window closed, Brendan did say we need an experience. We need experienced players in. But the good thing is that good a manager? Jimmy says, I agree, Baz. There's a plan A, B, and C. And that's what's good about Brendan. You know, it's like everyone's given the past manager plaudits down south of the way he's playing and everything. But let's face it, he only had that one way of playing. And although it was nice to watch, in Europe we got shown up. Could you imagine playing like we did last season in Europe and going down to 9 men? We would have got absolutely annihilated. Ash Forrest is still an elite Scottish player. Who's talking about Forrest? Sorry, I missed of the comments. A win is win, keep the pressure on the funds. Yep, it's that. Brendan Ball is improving with each game, says we will never sell a club. Dan says the sub of our war going on was pointless. Bringing on McCarthy in a wheelchair. Where is McCarthy? Has McCarthy even been seen in training? I don't think McCarthy's even been seen in training. Right. Alexander says 2016 we got to the last 16. Before that, it was twice 2006, 2007, 2008. But I just watching it again, watch it with the commentary to make my own mind up, and then I'll wait to see. Warner says, I was happy to see Forrest get. I feel sorry for James Forrest. Um, I feel sorry for James Forrest and the fact that it was him. Someone had to be a fall guy. Someone had to be a fall guy for the fact that Big Joe Hart got sent off. And it's just it's a shame that it was James Forrest. I'd have liked to see him getting more minutes and to see what he's still got on his legs. Alexander McGill says I'll be watching the same game. You're watching their same game. Smelly Glove says Brendan is one of those tactical managers who probably get a kick out of going down to 10 men. I don't think he gets a kick going out to 10 men because I think he would rather that Celtic went on and played some really good football and won convincingly. Smell the glove. I disagree with that one, but anyway, yeah, I think he maybe has something. Slaven says he has nothing left. He hasn't had anything about him for about 3 years. James Forrest, do you think so? People used to say that about Scott Brown before he's lapping. Richard says lapping up on a beach somewhere, enjoying picking up his wage. That is one of the most strangest ones, James McCarthy. It is one of the most strangest ones whatsoever. Right, let's see if there's any more Celtic news kicking about, rather than that crazy Jota statement from Frank McAvenny this morning. I noticed one thing that was going about this morning. Dermot Desmond was gutted. He was depressed when Postecoglou left. I don't think that's probably right. I don't think he was depressed. I don't think he was upset. I think we all seen the picture when the manager was offered the new deal, a deal that was going to keep him the highest paid manager ever at Celtic Park. And I think the look on bemusement um, on his face was the fact that this guy's just turned in this deal. And this was way before the cup final, way before the league had finished. So they knew that there was something not right about him. But anyway, Bet Forest starts at Fir Park on Saturday, says Smelling Love. Alexander McGill says, I was finishing off a message. Baz meant to say that the commentary are watching the same game. Ah, yeah, yeah. Uh, Billionaires do not like the word no. Billionaires do not like the word no. DD was offended, not depressed. I think, should we cover that story? Because it's a load of who cares? I don't really care what happens down. Tottenham got a 2-2 draw today, did they? Oh, well, what a shame. Not all conquering, is he? Hill Hill says FJT. The Shaggles will take a point of the Huns. Here's hoping that I think they got a good result against Ross County, did they not? But Aberdeen are still on 5 points. Aberdeen are that far down the league. It's unbelievable. Surely it's about time that they sack another manager. I mean, you see Hearts, Hibs climbing up the table a bit. This early on in the season, I was really hoping that Motherwell was going to do something today. Really hoping that Motherwell was going to take at least a point off of that lot. Versus Arsenal. And just go and move on. Let's Brendan fly his trade. Yes. Lucky, you're so right. You're so right. And it's a Scottish media. And it's such a Scottish media thing to do to keep on talking about Frank McAfeen's been on this. I think it's a Scottish media thing to do. I mean, there's been no other manager that I could think of in present Celtic history over the last 20 years that's left Celtic that's got so much press, even though that he's left Celtic and they still want to talk about him. But we move on from it. It is all about Brendan and the Brendan helping that fan yesterday, making sure that the stewards weren't going to give him a rough time. Was fantastic. DJ Singy's in the house, even Baz on the hoops. Frank's never been off the sniff, says Tam Mac. Brendan Rodgers getting a cheer from the Green Brigade after that yesterday. I think it's been fantastic. Scottish English media. Most of the Scottish media are owned by the English, or they bow down to the English anyway. So let's move on. He'll from Bulgaria. Bulgaria. Patrick said Bulgaria. Right. So who else is on it? Tell me where you're from. Scales has done amazing. Johnny Briggs says, I think Scales. I said this a few weeks ago. I said it's going to be some turnaround in this season if we go on to the later half of the season with Cameron Carter-Vickers and Scales in place. Now, this is how important people used to give Carol Starfelt stick. Carol Starfelt got plaudits against Barcelona yesterday. Even though Barcelona went on to win the game, it was a right scrappy game, Barcelona. But one player that got plaudits from the Barcelona players and staff was Carol Starfelt. Carol Starfelt is now captain. Rafael Benitez is that impressed with him. He's made him captain of the club already. If Liam Scales turns out to be, come the end of this season, the player that is up there with Cameron Carter-Vickers, what a turnaround in his career. And it shows you what impact Brendan Rodgers has had on that player. You know, so I just think it's absolutely brilliant. George Shirley says, where's the bird say, Frank? Yep. Michael George, A.K. Jaw. Newcastle are beaten out down against Sheffield United. Jesus, really? I would rather have Starfelt than Lager Belke. What I've seen. Monty, the fact that Starfelt's gone, and the players that we could talk about, is Brendan happy with the players that came in? He's not going to say that he's not happy with them. He knows that they're project players, but I think that we can all agree that Brendan thought we needed a bit of experience, and we didn't get that. look, when it comes to it, you're never expecting Cameron Carter-Vickers to come back from an operation and pull a hamstring straight away. He'd been on the training pitch. He'd had a pre-season. He had a good pre-season, but he pulls a hamstring. He gets brought back. What's basically far too early. Monty, remember, Starfelt took his time to get comfy in the team. Yes, he did that. Ewan Boy says Scales has played out his skin, but he's not really good enough to be a starter when everyone is fit. Says Ewan Boy. Interesting. Who do you think? Do you think that Rocky will come in when he's fit? Do you think he will be the better player? There's one thing that's for sure. Never in the last 10 years have we been so blessed when everyone's fit. Have we been so blessed? Brendan Rodgers is going to have some defence and backup. Scales has been a massive improvement. People remember when Ange came in and everyone wanted Greg Taylor out the club. Everyone wanted Greg Taylor out. He said that look, Greg Taylor wasn't Celtic quality. Greg Taylor went on to have two great seasons. He's had a bit of a poor start this season. When we look at Rocky that's to come in, Carter Vickers is to come back. We've got Phillips, who rolled his ankle, which means he's going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks. He should probably be ready for next week, I would have thought. If we can get Phillips back onto the pitch, I still want Taylor. It says Monty. Oh, you're crucial. Somebody says, I know the best place centre back until they've all played besides Cameron. That's true. We won't know the best centre back until they've all played besides Cameron Carter Vickers. The only problem with that is some of them play the same side as Cameron Carter Vickers. So I think it will be Phillips if we can get him fit. I think it's weird that we went out and got Phillips when he hasn't played any football since January. I know it was a bit of a panic because we had to get some covering, but it is a weird one. We'll wait and see what happens with that one because I understand that he has said that it's in the Celtics court. They're going to have talks come January. But let's see. We've got a lot of football to play before then. Thankfully, well, not thankfully, because we would have been in the quarterfinals of a cup this week, but we're not. We're not in the cup, so we've got a bit of a free week off. What it does allow to happen is for players to come back and get fit. It allows the managers to work with the players that is fit on the training pitch even more. Something that at this time of year normally doesn't happen. You don't get that luxury of being able to talk about training and tactics and everything. It's all about just keeping them fit in between games. And I think Brendan will really enjoy this week with the players. Let's get back to some of the comments. Tam Mac says, Skills is getting better all the time. It needs time. So many Celtic players are not getting that. That's exactly what I just said, Sam. I think that Brendan will enjoy this week getting back on the training pitch with the player. The fact that we've not got a game on a Tuesday or on the Wednesday this week. It is part of the treble if we're going to go for that. We're not in it now, so let's just focus on that. And I think Brendan will enjoy getting over some of the injuries. Stevie Boy, a defender on loan to cover injuries gets injured. Yep. No, he got injured or he rolled his ankle. He rolled his ankle in training. He's basically got a sprained ankle. Putting it in terms, he sprained his ankle. He went over and he's got ligament damage on his ankle. Jim McGuire says, I think Barry Robson should get the credit for skills improvement, giving him game time and help push him on. Nothing to do with Rodgers. That you can say that, right? But you could say the same with when Callum McGregor went out on loan down south. Callum McGregor went out on loan just to get game time. So you've got to give the manager some credit for putting trust in the player. Because let's face it, he was that close to going back to Aberdeen this season. The player wanted to play. What's a super chat? It's you make a donation to the channel. Never again. Don't even mention that word to me. Says Stevie Boy. I have no idea. Good afternoon, mate. Says Mr. Cankane. There we go. Let's get some Russell, Kobayashi, and Kwon should get loaned out. They're not going to get game time this season. Tilo will get the odd sub now and again. Somebody said something about Tilo earlier in the comments. Whoever said something about Kilo been down in Ayrshire or something today. Go and do that comment again so I could read it. He says great result yesterday with the exception of heart, rush of blood. Brendan Rodgers getting the team behind him, but serious concerns between the Pope has been it's not the backup answer. When it comes to it, we either have to get another Scottish goalkeeper in, or we need to get the likes of John McGinn or someone in. Because when we're playing in Europe, we have to have a certain percentage of homegrown players. Now, that's players that have obviously came through the Celtic ranks or are Scottish. And I don't think that there's anybody. Is there anybody that's out there that's good enough as a Scottish goalkeeper to come in that's better than Bain? Anyway, testimony at Celtic Sunday United. Big money striker needed someone that's a proven goal scorer, says Johnny Briggs. And the league is over. Say, I'm not going to even say Stephen. Come on, come on. Okay, what the fuck is doing? I'm missing comments here. There's a few first team players playing today. Let's get some new comments. I think every Scottish keeper is better than Bain, says Fast Tank. Says Fast Tank. That's an interesting one. McTominay being abused at United. McTominay, Manchester United wanted to try and offload him this summer, but the fact that they were asking for about 40 million for him was that there was absolutely no chance. McTominay was a player that Man United, if you watch the United Stand or Mark Goldberg's channel, he was one of the players that Man United fans wanted out this summer because he just doesn't do it when he gets a chance at Man United. Any updates on CCD when he be fit? Look at it. Nope, unfortunately not. Angus Gunn. Angus Gunn, the Scottish. I think he plays well under the Scotland manager, but can he do it for Celtic at that level? There's a lot of people can't come in and do it. It's okay doing it on the Scotland game every now and again, but the way that the Scotland play, they play with five at the back. So sometimes playing at five at the back, does that have something to do? There's no way Brendan's going to play with five at the back. So thank you, Lorna. Lorna says, all the best to you and Mrs. Baz. Your new place, get a wine or some beers. We will that. We will that. Mark Brown's Russell Reese Bell saying to Mark Brown, the B team plays non-league football. Doubt they're going to want to play against Colts and Lockheed. Yeah, I know. That's it. That is it. Big Rab Douglas. Do you know what? That's one person that I've actually started to make contact with. I need to get in touch with him. Jeff, all good. Not missed much. I wish we'd signed Gunn from Norwich. Talking about keepers, Lockheed Harp, my local team. Is that Lockheed up in Dundee, Mark? We used to go up there when Celtic played Dundee United. We used to go to a club up in Lockheed. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. They used to put on sandwiches and everything. We used to take 2 buses up there. They would put on sandwiches and everything for us. It was brilliant. John McGinn for about 30 million more than now, Baz. No chance of getting him. We missed this. John McGinn is the reason that Celtic left at Lockheed number 1. That's a fantastic bus. I know it well. I know it well. Yes. Yes. And we know the wee pub. You still got the wee pub with the bit upstairs that you leave from, Mark. It's got for mine, right, it's got the pool table upstairs. Been on hangover since the Champions League. You've had a hangover since the Champions League. You should have got Butland. Not a chance. Not a chance. Hate losing so much. I despair for days, says Jeff. Look, when it comes to the Champions League, I think Brendan has got one objective. I think Brendan's got one objective, and that objective is to finish third in the group. We need to finish third in the group because, let's face it, Champions League isn't really our level. It's good for the money, and it's good to get in and the prestige. We need to win the league this year because the money that we're going to make in the group stage, you never know. You never know with the changes that they're making to the Champions League. Will Celtic then have found their place to just get into this new league format that the Champions League has created? It's no longer the Champions League, as far as I'm concerned. It should be called European League. Will Brendan be able to find himself with Celtic at a comfortable level to be able to compete? The fact that you're playing more a league type format, you've got a better chance of getting a bit more money. It's going to be interesting. But let's just see what this. We have a date in Dublin in May next year. Ewan boy, yes, if we can finish third, and I've been an advocate of this since before the Champions League even started. It's not a case that I don't want us to progress in the Champions League. I would rather go on and finish third in the Champions League, fall down this season into the Europa, and get a good run in Europa. Because let's face it, there is a better chance of doing something in the Europa, and you never know. You never know. The bus stopped for a bit. My brother ran it, stepped back. I think he's back on it now. Let me just see that again. I've not been on it for a while, to be fair. Yeah, Mark, it's a cracking bus. It was a cracking bus. You're talking about, I mean, when did I run the bus? It was up from 2013 to 2018, 2017. 2017, I stepped down as convener and let someone else take over. But yeah, it was good. It was good going up to Dundee, going up to the Lockheed bus pub. I'd go to the stadium without a ticket. I would take third. I would take third all day long, Jeff. I think we need to. We need to. Hey, look who it is. He started up another YouTube channel. He started up another YouTube channel, and he's calling me gay. Wow, all that. Eh? He goes to all the bother. Goes to all that bother. Wait a minute, because I need to go to here and hide user on this channel. So there's another one that he's never going to get to comment again. His users' messages will be hidden. There he's gone again. He does love us, doesn't he? He does love coming on this channel. Anyway, Celtic get the Huns in Europe final at Dublin. Not a chance. They will never. Right. This is how bad. Even though they won today, for people that didn't come on, um, even though they won today, we'll talk. Let me just see this.
Michael, 3 points today. What is your take on that game?
Horrible performance.
Horrible
Didn't enjoy
performance.
the game. I don't think the players enjoyed the game either. I don't think anyone watching it that was supporting us enjoyed the game. We started poorly. Lots of sloppy individual errors in the game. We lose another player to an injury in a match, which is deeply unfortunate. But our quality all day with the ball wasn't good enough.
And similarly, the Boo Boys were out for them after the game. So it's nice to have the Rangers ones that are obsessed. He is obsessed. Tom Mac, I think you chucked him out, didn't you? But then I blocked him for yep, yeah, he is. He is that, and it's quite obsessive. It's quite obsessive. Um, I basically go on and hide all his comments from every. I could go into the security bit on YouTube, and it's basically all his blocked accounts. Really deranged. Really deranged. Anyway, we'll leave him. One of these days, we'll just leave him. The natives are getting restless. Ibrox was empty by the end, says Jeff. Oh, interesting. The wee superstar Matondo injured as well. Oh, well. Rangers Twitter is meltdown. I'm here for it. It's Lorna. I can't stand listening to the moan. Neither can I, but it's always funny. Always funny to just have a little look at their stuff. Right. The channel will be back to normal this week. There will be, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere just now. I am just talking about getting back to doing the lives. We'll be doing the lives at night again. This room will change slightly over the next few days once furniture that we've ordered finally arrives. And we'll be back to doing the Celtic lives more often because let's face it, we missed out on them. And there's another channel. Yeah, that's Scary Baz, your very own stalker. Honestly, it is. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. And he tried to threaten that he was over here and he stayed over here, and he knew where I stayed and all this nonsense, and that he knew the area and everything. And I was like, no, you don't, because it's like where the pub is that you're talking about. Anyway, let's move on from that. Board needs to get off his backsides, and Brendan Buns got lucky. The Buns got lucky. The Buns got lucky at Motherwell. I think when it comes to it, your own piece of paradise. Yep, I hope that greeting bird comes. You've just. It was meant to be all about Brendan. Let's just see. She's not crying today.
Sam, a 1-0 victory for the squad today. What did you make of that game?
No, she's not crying.
Not one of our best games. I think that's clear.
Nah, not one of our best games. I think that's clear. Somebody's bound to give them absolute gubbin shortly, and I hope they get put in the cup. Baz, I've just brought up my spicy listening to that. Gordon Cloud View says George Shirley, Stevie Boy. They're hoping for another pandemic. Tell us all we need to know. Cross out at the end, and yeah. John Boy, did you see the zombies wanting Brendan charged with assault for putting his hand on a steward's back? You're kidding on. God, they have a new low every time. Yeah, you're actually serious, has to wiggle Baz. You off, Richard? Yeah, I'll see you later if that's you off. Surely they're not wanting Brendan charged. Jesus. Anyway, let's see if we can get some more Celtic news. Celtic game. Kenny Dalglish has been talking, seemingly, and Kenny Dalglish has voiced his frustration and disbelief over what he perceives as unfair treatment of Celtic during the 2-0 loss to Feyenoord. Dalglish is adamant that officiating by the referee from Bosnia was flawed, particularly regarding the penalty awarded against Gustav. Dalglish acknowledges that the decision to send it off Owen was justified. Yet you can't. The Owen one, Odin, he's got his stud shown. You've got to accept that. Lagervelke, especially when VAR supported the referee's call, was quoted by, who cares? Celtic made life difficult for themselves on Tuesday with the 2-0 loss to Feyenoord. I don't think they made. Yeah, they did make themselves. It did make it difficult. But when you look that Feyenoord went to Ajax this afternoon, and they were winning 3-0, and then the Ajax fans went absolutely ape the second half. Let's get that clown off. No, I'm not part of it. I'm sick. The fact that Celtic kept it just to 2, and they went to Ajax. Ajax got the game abandoned. Ajax fans got the game against Feyenoord abandoned. So, yeah. Where does that leave Celtic in the Champions League, though? Well, we just have to wait and see for that. I want to charge Beale for that mole he's carrying around on the side of his chops. John, how are you today? All right, Baz. Not been for a few days. He's been in Turkey, but on the way home now soon. Missed anything? Nah, you've not missed anything, John, because I've not been doing the usual lives due to the fact we moved house this week. So, yeah. Just hope the Green Brigade, it doesn't give the Green Brigade any excuse. Yeah, no. Bill must stay, says Peter King. Bill must stay. Let's get some more counts. Yeah, I thought the ref was terrible. We could talk about the ref, but there's no point, and especially Diane talking about Brendan. I want Brendan. What is Brendan now? People for having his arm around the child. Oh my goodness! Right, Tamak says, yeah, that's it. That's the hunt for you. Media. I honestly think Martindale will put in a full strength team. I don't know. I watched that game earlier, Baz. That was mad. Danny, it was completely bizarre. And I've seen some of the videos where they went around the front of the stadium, and the fans were getting charged by the horses and everything. It's just, I mean, we think that sometimes I think that Celtic fans are a little bit entitled due to the fact that of the success that we've had over the last 20 years, really. We've had such amazing success at Celtic, and we kind of think that we don't think that we should be winning the league. We think that we should be putting out our best possible team. But I think some of our fans, especially when we brought back Brendan Rodgers, some of our fans are a bit entitled to think that, look, we should be doing better. When Brendan Rodgers is probably the one manager that was out there at the time that understands the way that the club is run. Now, whether we like it or not, whether Brendan likes it or not, I think Brendan would have liked a little bit of that 70 million that's sitting in the bank. I think Brendan would have loved to buy in just a little bit of experience, especially for you, especially for Europe, because you need your luck in Europe. You need to ride your luck in Europe. Were we unlucky against Feyenoord? No, I don't think we were unlucky. Did we show our inexperience against Feyenoord? Yes. Mark Brown says, I think we should win the league every year. Yeah, every team should. Every team should. And the way, and if you look at Bale last season, he said, look, the manager's a lucky manager. The manager that spends the most money wins the league. Well, that's not always the case. It's not always the case. I mean, if you look at Ajax today, Ajax spent 105 million this summer, 105 million, and they were getting thrashed 3-0 by half time by Feyenoord. You know, so you need, it comes down to the way that the club's run. And although we do want the club to spend a bit more on players, and it can go back to the transfer window, and we can say, look, we brought in a lot of project players. The manager, he knows we've brought in. He's never going to publicly say, look, I don't think that we brought in good enough quality. That we brought in a lot of project players that he's got to make better, to try and make better and then sell on. But that's just the way the clubs run. Let's get back to some of the comments. Brown Water says, I doubt Feyenoord will play that poorly at Paradise. Do you think that they played poorly the other evening? Or was it Celtic just played a different way and a different style? That's kind of taken away a bit of credit from Celtic the first half, because I don't think that they played poorly. I think that Celtic probably played just at the limit of how good we are, unfortunately. If it was a game, Jeffrey says Dutch football is the same as ours. Jeff, the one thing is, though, Dutch football got a TV deal from ESPN for 135 million for the season. 135 million. Scottish FA, the Scottish SPL, took a deal worth 30 million from Sky. 30 million. The standard of the Dutch league is better than Scotland. It is the fifth. It's the fifth best league in Europe. Here's an interesting fact. Did you know that Celtic are the only team with a population of under 10 million to have won the Champions League? I'm going to go back to it. There's some. A big shout out to Michael who sent this, and I'm going to do another video about it. Now, this is talking about the Champions League, and it's talking about the old format of the Champions League. There's only 12 teams to have won more games in the top cup game in Europe than Celtic in 68 years of Champions League. There's only 12 teams to have won more games in Europe than Celtic. But then you want to take that Celtic 67, Man United 68, yeah, you want to take that into. If you bring that into the modern game, Celtic are absolutely garbage. Only 13 teams have scored more goals since the first ever European Cup in 1955. That's an interesting stat. Only 13 teams have scored more goals in Europe, in the European Cup, since 1955. And you look at those 13 teams, it's the 13 most richest teams in Europe. Let's get back to some of the comments. Deep down, pissed myself as well. Can't I complain? As a cleaner, a security guard, there was not a leak. Baz, I think we spam ahead. Martindale will put 11 players behind the ball if they take a lead against Govan Buns. I don't think he'll play that way against them. I really don't think you're playing against. I mean, yeah, apart from Celtic, must have the bigger revenue. 30 million. Backhanders, Lazio only drew with Monza yesterday. There's a bit of an uproar that Lazio aren't as good as they have been recently. We watched the first half. Indeed, didn't look anywhere near top side. Stevie Boy says, over 5 years, selling us on the cheap. We have a chance that we've got. Stream our own. Yeah, the thing is, you're going to see a lot more Celtic media going out via the Celtic TV website. I think it's CelticTV.com. They're going to put a lot of stuff out on that first, and then they're going to put the watered down stuff through YouTube. And then you'll get a lot more of these clips coming through from Celtic saying this is what you missed on Celtic TV. Now you have to subscribe a monthly subscription for the Celtic TV. Now this is why you remember the big news back in the summer about the guy that came in from Apple. This is where he makes his money. This is how he grew online subscription things with Apple, and that's why Celtic went and got him, and just happened to be a Celtic fan. So watch the online subscription stuff go berserk for Celtic. There will be probably in the next year or so. There'll be front runners. There'll be leaders, world leaders in something once again. A bit like they were the first and only team in the UK to put up a standing section, but then we'll get overtaken by some crappy club. Anyway, John McCullough says, down to us now, Baz, getting back to paradise. Republican team of governing Emeralds CSC. Yeah, it is all down to us, and I think no reason now. Something today says, bugger Sky, Celtic should sell all their aim games privately. I thought it was interesting that Motherwell are doing that. Motherwell are doing a pay-per-view game when it comes to Celtic, and they got the game changed due to the fact that they wanted to do a pay-per-view thing. Very classic tonight. Let's get back to some of the comments. Jota might be returning. I heard it's probably fake. Yeah, I did say in the video that I think Frank McAvenny was probably paid to say that, especially when the state that he first came out for Baz. Joseph says he'll help Baz. Celtic TV needs to work all over. Been rubbish for years. I understand that, but I think the editing and everything now has changed slightly. They've got a few new guys in that do the edit, and the edit and everything's went to a different level. If you ask me personally, just on a video editing side, I think there are things that they still could do better at, and I think that they're going in the right direction. That's for sure. Stevie Boy says, truly miserable out there. Brown Warrior says Celtic have banked enough dough this year to make Celtic TV for supporters. Get them hooked on better quality, and most will continue to subscribe. As it is something they need to get the quality better, and they need to get someone in that helps them with that. Let's face it. And I mean, it's a big team that they've got working at Celtic now, doing the background stuff. And hats off to them. They have upped their game this season. I mean, I've been watching Celtic TV for years. And I mean, I used to laugh when I first started doing videos straight after the game. I would get my videos up right after the game, and I could have 10 to 15,000 views on videos straight after the game when I was at the game before Celtic even got anything online. And Celtic at one point, they weren't putting anything online until the next day, the next morning. So they were missing out on that online traffic. Now that Celtic TV have got something a bit better to offer people, it is all about growth. And I think that the Celtic TV platform will get better. They need to forget about subs to Celtic TV. Not that growth. They need to think more about YouTube and Twitter. Not Mark. That's not the business plan objective. What you get paid from YouTube is minuscule from what they can get from having a website with all their TV content on it. They'll then get 100% of the income from that. When you get your income from YouTube, you're only getting 45% of the revenue. So you only get 45% any advert revenue. If they do a subscription basis, it then becomes a platform that has targets to meet, and they can then reinvest that money. As long as the money gets reinvested back into Celtic TV, that Celtic TV makes. Anyway, let's move on from Celtic TV. Can we take a wee moment just to appreciate Dyson, Stevie Boy, Dyson Maida yesterday? Dyson probably scored the hardest goal, the hardest chance that he had yesterday. I mean, he missed an absolute sitter. Dyson, there was one of the comments said that Dyson must run on Duracell because he just runs and runs and runs. Mark Brown said, "Yeah, but run a sponsor on the YouTube adverts." It doesn't matter if you you can put a sponsor on every video. But I know Celtic's not going to go down that road. You can get the way that the Celtic TV monthly subscription will work. It builds up a better revenue stream for them. And Maida's goal was a beauty, screamer of a goal. It was an absolute. Let me see if I can get it back up. Actually, and I'll not be able to show it because then I'll get copyrighted. Can't have that. Maida does never give up. The only thing that I'm worried about with Dyson, and I know he's just signed this new deal, but the one worry for me is if maybe Ange comes back for him. There has been talk down south about Ange going for an ex-Celtic player. I'm hoping it's Jota. Because let's face it, Jota is way out of our price range, and I think that if Jota's contract does get ripped up, I think Postecoglou would rather go for him than Dyson. It's just, I think Dyson. Johnny Briggs says Dyson wouldn't get a game for anyone. I think so. What a goal, says Lorna. Yeah, I think it was a cracking goal. Who else can we talk about from yesterday? What time? We've been on for 51 minutes. I want to see if there's any more Celtic news. Kyogo makes animated appearance in a Champions League ad. There you go. Motherwell slipped to defeat. And the hosts are booed off. Oh, we need to talk about this. Just pure laughs. So we've always got to get that one bit of Sunday. Let's face it, we tried a Celtic quiz last Sunday, if you remember last Sunday. So Motherwell slipped to a defeat at Castle Grayskull, and the hosts were booed off. Celtic travel to Park Park, obviously, next weekend to face Motherwell. It was a narrow defeat by a stuttering Sevconian team who were booed off the field. They were booed off again. That's quality. A deflected, you're giving me a laugh, have a laugh. A deflected first half goal from Cyril give the host a lead. But the vibrant visitors challenged throughout and disappointed not have taken something for it. Which looks like next game will lay down a marker against the Scottish champions. I think, look, when it comes to it, Motherwell are now in fourth place. Motherwell were in third until that result today against Stevco. I think Celtic need to go to Motherwell next week. The good thing is we've got a week to think about it. You know, Celtic have got an opportunity to go to Fir Park next week, and it's always a hard place to go. But when you remember back to 2016, 2017, Celtic came from 2-0 down, then it was 3-2 before winning the game 4-3. It was 2016 because it was after that game that the media went absolutely berserk, saying that Celtic fans trashed the Motherwell ground. And in reality, the Motherwell seats that day were old and rusty, and there was a surge from behind the goals. There was a surge forward, and everyone that put their foot up on the seats to try and stop them going any further forward, basically the seats crumpled. But then all the media and Motherwell decided to put all the seats together and said that Celtic trashed them, and we all got a game ban for that. That was interesting times. Anyway, Tarmac says Celtic have some team. We just need to jigsaw it together. It will come. I definitely think it will. Right, big shout out. We're on 54 minutes. Big shout out to Lorna. All the best to you and Mrs. New Place. Get away in some beers. Thanks for that, Lorna. Let's get back to some more comments. Boo FC says Mark Brown. Jeffrey says, I think O'Reilly is helping Calmac more now. Yep. Yes. I think that's the fact that he hasn't been man marked at the game as much. Celtic paid for the damage. Yes, they did. They did pay for the damage. That happens at all grounds. So trying to say that it's something that doesn't happen when Sevconians damage the toilets at Celtic Park, it's a club agreement that if there's any damage to an away ground by the way support. It was more at the time that the way that the Motherwells emphasised it, because at any time that there's any damage done before, it was never emphasised, and it was all about the time where there was a big hatred for the Green Brigade, and the fact that they piled all the seats together and took photographs of them for the media. Anyway, let's move on to that. John Shirley says, Baz, Peter, here, you've got me, mate. I want to give you a green one. No, John, I don't have that line. Do you ever bet Matt O'Reilly to score goals? No, we need a keeper. Johnny Briggs says we need a keeper. Should have been done already. Will knew back in the summer, and when you look at the money that, and it makes it even worse. It makes it even worse now that Celtic have come out and said we've got 70 million in the bank. We knew that we've got a keeper that wanted away. There's a keeper that doesn't look as if he's going to get anywhere near the first team this season. He was good at Dundee United. He's hardly touched the ball for Celtic. He's not going to get in the Champions League team because he's not Scottish. And I think that Siegrist should move on. I think that Siegrist, it was in his benefit now for him. He wants to stay at Celtic, though. He wants to prove himself at Celtic. He's not been given that opportunity to prove himself. And that comes down to the fact that Bain has to be on the bench and for the possibility to try and get some game time due to the fact that if he does need to play in the Champions League, he's only in the Champions League squad because he's a Scottish player. If we had a couple of more good Scottish players, but when it comes down to it, we don't have a core group of good Scottish players at the team anymore. And you need those Scottish players for the Champions League. The fact that we had a keeper during the summer that we could have got for about $6.5 million and we didn't spend that money, could that come back to haunt us? And Brendan Rodgers did want a keeper, but we never got one. Let's see what Danny says. Danny says a keeper has to be the first priority in January. I think so as well, especially for succession to next season, because Joe Hart is going to leave at the end of this season. He's not come out and said it publicly, and this is one of the things that nobody's really talking about. It's like talking about the elephant in the room. Joe Hart is on the last year of his contract. He has absolutely loved his time at Celtic. He loves Celtic, but it's been understood, from what I've heard, that he wants to go and play his final year in America. So he'll be able to go to America, play some decent football with some decent weather, and I'm not going to knock him for that. I'm not going to knock him for that. At his state, at his age and his career, to take that massive pay cut that he did. You've got to remember that he came to Celtics knowing that he was only going to get 15 grand a week. For a player that has earned the amount of money that he has had during his career and the teams that he's played at, it's a big jump down to come to Celtic and only take 15 grand a week. I mean, he could have said, I'm not coming for anything less than 45. Easily. Could have said that easily. 45 million was obviously the amount of money that Jota would have had to been paid if Celtic turned down this offer that he received in the summer. That was in Jota's terms and conditions. Anyway, which is not even starting for Fenerbahce. That's even worse. He's not even starting for Fenerbahce, so they spent all that money. Didn't they spend 6.5 million knowing they had 70 million in the bank? Yeah, I know they did. They didn't spend that, and that's what makes it really bad. And I think it's going to be really interesting when the Celtic AGM comes around this year. Did he win the 70 million in the Bank Cup? He did that. Hart cost us too many goals this season. Too slow. He saved a penalty in Europe. Reese Bell says, what are your thoughts so far on Yang? That's just again, Aberdeen was class. I think Yang is a player that really needs to get all the new players that came in needed time. all the players that came in during this transfer window came in far too late. If we had these players eyed up, we should have got them in earlier so that we weren't rushing around. We were into August before some of these players came in, and the fact that they never got a pre-season. They never got a pre-season. They never got a chance to settle into the team. That was the main problem in Feyenoord for me. Is that the team hadn't had a lot of time to play together. Get back to the comments. John Shaw says, Baz, Peter wants to know what you're getting for your Christmas. It's got a nice letter from Brendan and a packet of fire letters. There's no chance of me getting a Christmas card for anybody at Celtic. Maybe John Paul Taylor. The surface was to blame for Hart's red card. How can you judge a carpet bounce at San Fran Celtic? You've got it absolutely right there. That pitch. We shouldn't be playing on pitches like that in the professional league. I don't care what anybody says. You shouldn't be playing on pitches like that. We didn't buy any experiences, Peter King. We didn't. And people that are shareholders and they get the opportunity to go to the AGM need to question that. Need to question it. Hart and Craig Gordon are very similar keepers at this stage. Good shot stoppers, but reckless when it comes to playing on the deck and coming out to clear the lines. That's why Craig Gordon left. He knew that he wasn't going to get game time, and he was like, "Bugger it, I'll go back to Hearts." Anyway, with 60 million up for grabs for the Champions League next season, the board need to give Rodgers a fair whack of the money, no excuses. Brendan Rodgers has admitted already that Celtic are looking at the next window. I think Brendan Rodgers knows that we need to get in that little bit of experienced player, a little bit experienced player, just to get us over the line, if anything. And it's not just about that. It's about, look, we've had that first game in Europe, and we know the level that we need to have players at. Bringing in players to come in, I mean, the thing is as well, we've got players that aren't even in the squad that we've brought in as prospect players. You're wanting them to play at the highest level so they could sell them on. We're never going to be able to sell the likes of Bernabei on if you can't get a game on a week-to-week basis. Joseph Agus says, "He'll Baz this game for most are injured, no good." Yep. Players will come fit. Yeah, players will get pitched. They pitches are only for playing balls on, not football. They shouldn't be used for Scottish football at all, as far as I'm concerned. Brown Warrior says, ironically, Craig had a stellar season at Hearts when he left. He did that, and it was unfortunate that he broke his leg. And do you know one of the most interesting things about Craig Gordon? And it was Scott Brown that said this. He says Craig Gordon is probably one of the most intelligent players that he's ever played football with in his career. He says that Craig spends all his time looking at the stock market and investing his money. And that's what Craig does in his spare time. He says he's one of the most intelligent football players that he's ever played with in his entire career. Right, San Fran Celtic says Joe Hart is a gatekeeper. He's saved their arse this season. He has. Nobody's having a go at Joe Hart. I've not seen anyone having a go at Joe Hart. I just think we need to be thinking further down the line. Joe Hart has made it clear to Celtic that he's not going to sign a new contract. Unless Celtic offer him a crazy amount of money, but it's my understanding that he wants to take his family over to America and finish his career there. Livy pitch yesterday was worse than Chris Boyd's hairline. Talking about Chris Boyd's hairline, what about the ex-Motherwell player who's had his hair redone again? That's quite funny. Can we name a smaller squad in Europe instead of playing Scottish dross? No. We have to have a certain amount of Scottish-born players or Scottish players that have came through the system. Yang is going to need to earn his game time. I want to see more of Palma. Yeah, I want to see both of them get more game time. It's sensational. His previous club, the transfer window wasn't fair, but an extra 6 or 7 million players would be perfectly placed. Somebody says we're having to go at carpets, not slow Joe. Yeah, that's true. We're not having a go at Joe. We're having the bounce on that pitch yesterday. It's just terrible to watch. It's terrible to watch. Oh, what's happening? Oh no, it's not football chat. There's no news getting broken tonight. Norma McDonald, welcome to the channel, Norma. We'll get the guys in when they're available. Come on, guys. Don't be negative. I don't think anybody's been negative. I think Brendan has came out and said, the Celtic manager did say, he said the week before the window shut, he said, we need a little bit of experience in just to help these guys. But remember, the average age of this team's only 24-year-old. We need some players that are not maybe Joe Hart's age, but nearer Kyogo's age. But then Kyogo doesn't have the experience for the Champions League, if you ask me. And I hope Kyogo comes good in Europe. But we need players that have played in Europe at a decent level. That's for sure. We need to plan ahead to get a new keeper in January. We prayed. Exactly, Derek. Exactly. That's what we're talking about tonight. It is the fact we're not slating Joe Hart on anything that he's going to do this season. We do need to be thinking forward, though. For once in Celtic's damn current situations, have a bit of forward thinking. Have a bit of forward thinking and say, look, we know this is going to happen 6 months down the line. We know that this player's going to leave. We need to get someone in. Bain, the manager said, look, Bain is a good secondary keeper. He's a good backup keeper to have. Right? That's why he was given the 3-year contract before. And this is what makes me think as well. This is what makes me think that Celtic knew that he was leaving. And they'd obviously spoke to Brendan way before, but you never know. Anyway, that's the only reason that he was given a 3-year contract is because Celtic knew they have to have a certain amount of Scottish players in the squad for Europe. Our board is that cheap. They would give you a PS2 and call it a PS5. Oh my goodness. Dyson went for the ball yesterday and slid landing on his bun. Yep, he did that. And also one of the Livingston players did that as well. If we find a new keeper, some of the fans will be looking for him after his first mistake, says Sam. Celtic, out of the 9 players who came in, what ones were Brendan's boys? Honestly, Phillips. I think the rest of them were picked out by the recruitment department, and I think it was all about that. Look, we can get these players at a good. And this isn't just my thoughts behind it. This isn't anything that's came out of the club. It's my thoughts. I've never spoke to anybody in the know, but I think they brought in players this year because they thought they can get them at a good price, and they've got ones that say, look, if we get a good season out of them, good 2 seasons out of them, we could take a 2 million player and sell him for 6 million, sell him for 8 million. And I think that's the only reason that we bought so many players. We've spoken about it on so many times on this channel that we only lost 3 players in the summer. We only needed to bring in 5 players in total. Tam Max beef curry has just arrived. A beef curry from the Chinese. Or anyway, I'm going to let you go and have your beef curry, Tam Mac. Right, we're not starting a cooking chat show tonight. James says not so much age of the players, needs a bit more quality of player. I think when it comes down to quality of player, that comes along with age and experience, and that's what we need in the team, James. And we didn't do that. We brought in players that can get better, and Brendan knows it's his job to make them better. But what he had said, he says, look, it would be good just to get that little bit of experience. Max himself laughing. Right, let me just do one last search of any Celtic news. Cameron Carter Vickers is on the comeback. Cameron Carter Vickers is aiming to return to Lennoxtown training next international. Yeah, we knew that anyway. Let's see, there's no update on figures on Carter Vickers. We all knew that it was the next international break is in October. It's around about the 12th of October. That's that week. Celtic play Kilmarnock on the 7th of October, and then they won't play again until we play Hearts on the 22nd of October. and it looks like that game against Hearts could be his return. I don't want to rush Cameron Carter-Vickers back because we really need him. It'd be good to get him back, but will he be fit enough and match fit enough for 9th of October? Brendan Rodgers said on Carter-Vickers. Yeah, I was just reading another news site and it came up. To be fair, I think we are destroying a chance to go far ahead of the zombies. They will never catch us, and chance to progress and complete in Europe. We are cheap rather than spending on quality, says Michael. I totally agree with you, Michael. I 100% agree with you on that. There's been so many times. Listen, we could go back to 2012. The fact that the board didn't stamp on the throat of that club and kill it off altogether was unbelievable. And let's not be nice to be for the sake of being nice here. If it was us that were on our knees in 2012, they would never allowed us to come back. They would never allowed us to come. They would have made sure that we went out of existence. They would never allowed us to come back. They would never allowed us to come back and called Celtic again. Not a chance. Anyway, don't get me started. I've had a nice calm evening. We've been going for 1 hour and 11 minutes. I love 1. We've been going for 1 hour and 11 minutes. Right. Special curry poured on top. Let's get up with some of the comments before we finish off for this evening. We'll be doing a live tomorrow night again. I'm going to stick to the live roughly about 5:30 Celtic Park time. Taylor was shockingly good at the weekend. I'd given up on him since San Celtic. Them, yes, I totally agree with you, Ali. But I think Bernabe will be sold or loaned in January. Thanks for that, Baz. Great night, everyone. Before you go, please give a massive thumbs up. Lorna is on it again. Mark Brown, we could have been 10 years ahead of them by now. The board took us back, and exactly, Mark Brown. Ever since 2005, we got to a European Cup final in 2003, and we all expected Celtic to kick on a bit. And then when Martin O'Neill left, and the spending wasn't the same. And we all know what happened, and we know the managers that came in after that. And it's always the Celtic board's way. But that's for another chat and another evening. Well, the address is 111. Hey, Baz got my Champions League tickets. Go on yourself, Peter. Get in there. What games? For the home games, I take it. Is a wing back, no, full back. CCV needs to be 100%. Yes, he does, Joseph. He needs to be at 110% fit, not like the start of the season. If he doesn't return, he'll be out for even longer. Need to thank Scales for the rest. Yep, good night, says Richie. Hill, says Mark Brown. It has been absolutely fantastic. We will be back with the live tomorrow night. We'll be back with the news in the morning, and I might go back to doing a little live in the morning for the people down in Australia and South America. No, South America's later. For the Far East and all the ones that follow the Channel M, because it's good to get them on some of the lives also. Right, with that being said, have a fantastic evening, Celtic fans all around the world.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up.